I'm an FIEB in all three weapons. My USA fencing ratings are, I'm a 2 in épée, a 3 in foil, and a 5 in saber. I have been refereeing since I was 18 years old on a national level. And I am a CRI, a certified referee instructor. I've been doing that 2-3 years now, I guess, maybe more. All the time starts to blend into, starts to merge. So I've been teaching the certified referee. One of my favorite things to do is actually do it for free at Summer Nationals, because you meet some extraordinary people. And I've been very lucky because I kind of shadowed with Bruce Galeman, who does one of the best referee seminars there is. He partially wrote the book. I love doing the referee seminar because I am a teacher and a coach in my home base of what I do for a living. Well, the FIE has been doing some really good things with trying to seek out to develop women, especially women referees. And Stacy Johnson, who is a former president of USA Fencing, and she created a women's only referee seminar and test at, I want to say it was at Summer Nationals a couple years ago. I honestly, I went there very prepared to take foil. I had my FIE test in épée and had already done international refereeing in épée. And I wanted to do my foil. And then they said, well, are you doing saber? And I went, well, the worst that could happen is I could not pass. And so I took the saber figuring I would fail and I would learn, because I love learning and I love knowing what I need to work on and all that stuff. And I passed, and I almost fell off my chair because, okay. Let's see, right now there are 13 women in the entire planet who've got an FIEB in all three weapons. The number for USA, both genders, tends to be, I want to say, between 13 and 15 people have triple Bs in the USA, which is kind of cool. Because so as a country, that's a big difference. That's a big difference that we have so many people. Right now we've got several of our FIEBs that are aging out. They stop at 60. I think all of that makes me sound fancier than I am. I only do probably 1 international, 2 international a year, a season. And that's because we've been really great with developing people. So there are a lot of opportunities. Who knows what's happening for this next season because of the pandemic. I think I was initially pushed in to refereeing because it was part of a camp. And the camp said, well, this is going to be helping you understand fencing. And so I went to kind of an underserved area for referees when I went to college. So I just kind of did it as a way to help kind of pay for books and stuff in that local space. And then I ended up doing some development of fencers. I ran a program in North Carolina, and it just became part of what I would do. And I was already a 5, so I would go to a NAC, I would fence, almost make a final, then I would referee the men's and referee their final, at least in épée land, and the top 8 bouts, and I just kept doing that. And it was really quite opportune, because it was a way for me to be able to get to NACs. I was very tight on money, so that was kind of one of my first motivations, was to help me get places. And the international stuff came because I had to retire from competition because of muscular dystrophy. They didn't know what was wrong with me for years and years and years, and I was the healthiest sick person they ever saw, and it turns out I have muscular dystrophy, which is pretty cool that I got to have any type of athletic career at all, actually, which is awesome. But for me, as you see changes happening in your life, you have to be evolving and changing and moving into things. And I love teaching people. I love watching the light bulbs go on over people's heads. And if I can do that for refereeing, I absolutely love to do that. And actually, that's why I started the Fencing Referee YouTube channel. I was told I wasn't good enough to teach. So when I was told that, I went, cool. And I went global. I went on the web. If they're not going to let me teach that, I'm going to teach some other way. And that's why I started the Fencing Referee YouTube channel. And I've actually had other sports click on the difficult people one. The FIE is actually doing some great things. Instead of just refereeing a video. They're having you referee live people at certain events, which I think is a fantastic development. One of those events was the Junior Pan Ams in Havana, Cuba. And so I had more than one person kind of tap me on the shoulder and go, "Are you Lisa?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Lisa. We used your videos to help prepare for this." The study guide used to be a test bank of questions, and they were verbatim from the test. And as somebody who was, a burgeoning educator, I was like, this doesn't really teach us how to do anything. And the test is academically interesting because we used to have a lot of test questions in there that were, "So you left our sport for 10 years. Let's see if you're current on the rules." And there would be like 15-year-old questions that would be very obvious to somebody who's right now studying, whether it's like lose a meter, gain a meter, interpretations of modern saber with preparation or whatever. And they used to put questions like these red herring questions in there. And so they've actually weeded a lot of those questions out. So you have to be able to read a question. And that sounds weird. It sounds like it's the SATs. But you have to take something that is very visual and make it into concrete that you can see. And when people would ask me before I was a CRI, how do I help myself figure out how to take the test? And I would have division officers saying A, and I would say here, and I would draw out a little tiny strip like it is in the study guide with a fencer X and a fencer Y. And you draw your little 2-meter zones and you have the 2 little stick figure fencers, because we're trying to take this test that is that is 2-dimensional on a piece of paper, and we're trying to make it 3D. I just wanted to have also practical stuff in there, simple stuff, like even in the beginning of it where it says things like, take all the tests, because that's what the CRIs say. Take every single test. You have to pass the general and then do your weapon specific. And you should have a weapon that is your heart. Okay, that's what I call it, your heart weapon. Like, what is the weapon that the chips are down? You can't speak in complete sentences, but you can referee. By the way, that's me in foil and French. I don't know but you should take all of the exams because you are more marketable as a referee if you can do more than one weapon. And I really wanted to create something that was also chunked information, because from an educational perspective, it's better for it to be randomized for a test, because that really will test your knowledge. But when you're learning it, that's not how your brain learns. Your brain learns in chunks. So I chunked the information for the general and for the weapon-specific ones so that when you're processing it, your brain starts to really absorb it. I also wanted to kind of give people the space to have like little ways to write down notes, have people be able to have their brain process it. Because really, there's no one way to learn, and there's no one way to really process even refereeing. I mean, we can look at the same action, a similar foil action, and you might get 5 different opinions, and that's okay. But really what you need to be doing is you need to be figuring out how your brain conceptualizes that, and does it work with especially for the conventional weapons, how the conventions are at this moment, and then you fake your confidence and then you go from there. Yeah, I think that it's important to have some sort of rationale, because that's part of learning. If you get something wrong, that was one of the few flaws I find with the online testing, is that you don't know what you've got wrong, so you can't really learn and process what you're getting wrong. But you really have to kind of pull out to say, okay, so it doesn't matter this doesn't matter. What the question is asking? And it's like, is it in preparation? Is it attack lands? Are they parried? Because if somebody does a parry and an immediate repost, immediate is the key word. I can't be parry and wait there for 10 minutes. I have to go parry and immediate repost. But a lot of people, they read the questions and they get confused. When they really, if they were to see the action, they would be like, oh, this is attack, parry, riposte. Big reasons I wanted to redesign that study guide was so that it was truly a study guide and not just a bank of test questions. You really need to be evaluating why people referee. Their only motivation can't be money. They've got to be doing something that they inherently like to. I referee because my joke is 6 less people are getting screwed over if I'm out there. Because I hated having bad referees. So when I had lousy foil referees, I wanted to be the foil referee I would have wanted. And the saber referee I would have wanted. And the épée referee I would have wanted. So for me, that is my big motivation. I am a very altruistic referee. I am not there for my ego. I'm there for them. I'm there to keep them safe. I'm there to give them a fair time. I know that I am not the best referee in the room. There are a lot of really great referees. However, a lot of people like being refereed by me because they know I'm fair. They know, like, relative to priority, I'm very consistent. They also know that they can't pull stuff, like they can't take advantage of me. But yeah, we need a lot more mentoring. We need to understand why people stop refereeing. We need to make sure that we are able to watch and protect people when they need to be protected, and when they're ready to be kicked out of the nest, kick them out of the nest. We need to make sure we're creating a system that's not burning out athletes, not burning out coaches, and not burning out referees. So I realized when I was a competitor that I would do these like scouting things. And in fact, when I was a competitor, I had a car accident that stopped me from being able to fence. And so I dived back into refereeing, and I started taking notes. Even though I wasn't fencing my opponents, I started taking notes. And I realized that I was doing this on a team level with my high school team. And I was just like, well, there's no real scouting books out there. This should be out there. Basically, how to track and learn from your tournament. Like, this person I'm fencing next, and this person I'm fencing, and what do they do? And then the back is like an address book with the alphabet on the side. And then the trends. Am I taller than you? Am I shorter than you? Am I right-handed? What attack is my best attack? Be disengaged in all three weapons, by the way. My best defense, circle 6 or 8. It was a way to have information that I call them the most important information you can get about somebody is their money moves. Like when the chips are down, it's 4-4. Do they have an action that they go to? Because knowing what that action is really important information. So scouting can't be predictive, but it can certainly give you information. Like if somebody's really good at long attacks, you better know that, because in saber, if you get 3 touches down in saber, you're toast. If somebody's really bad at something, sometimes that's really good to know. I did a sample page for each of the books. And for me, I think it's really great to know like broad strokes. And that's what I say to my athletes. I don't always have the most talented athletes or the athletes who are training the most. A lot of my high school fencers are very academic. But I've seen typically it happens in my girls' foil. They know that girl can do a circle 6. And they know they can go around a circle 6. So this girl is going to wipe the floor with them, but my girl's going to get 2 touches because they can go around a circle 6. And it gives them confidence, because a lot of these kids are so smart that the unknown of the whole bout as a whole is like frightening to them. And that's one of the gifts that scouting can give you, is that it may not give you exactly what's going to happen touch by touch by touch, but it gives you kind of an overview of what you're going to be handling. And for a lot of these high stress academic kids, they get A's on tests. They don't know how to not get A's. But when they go out to fence, it actually makes them very stressed and very anxious. And if they know that girl's got a good circle 6 and they can go around a circle 6, it can give them some calm and some stress control, some control over the situation. But the easiest way to find my books on Amazon is my full last name, CAMPI-SAPERY, and you will see all 3. I've got one for foil, one for épée, one for saber. Examples is that in saber I've got in the box, because some people do different things in the box, meaning between the 2 on guard lines. And they're all very tactically different. There's an entire section in épée about preparations, because preparations are huge in épée. And so do they do absence of the blade? Do they tap the blade? Do they press the blade? Do they hide their tip? What do they do? Because those are a lot of very important things. And it's also all in one spot. So the back is like where the scouting is, and the front are like individual tournaments. And here's the other thing, post-tournament evaluation. So 10 things you need to work on, 10 solutions to those things, and 10 things you did well. And any high-level athlete will tell you that if they're not doing some sort of constructive criticism of that tournament, then they're not doing it right. You really need to do, and it's uncomfortable. The 10 things you did well will be one of the hardest things you've ever written in your life. I'll put it to you this way: I finished pretty high at a tournament, and I came up with 17 things I needed to work on, and 7 things I did well. So 8, 9, and 10 are often like peed before the DEs, yeah, or drank enough water, yeah, you know, like you're like digging the bottom of the barrel for like the did well sometimes, because it's very, that voice inside our brain can be very almost too self-critical, but the did wells are incredibly important because that's how our brain processes things. That's what they know for motor skills. That's what they know for sports psychology. That I tease my athlete, don't say don't parry 4, tell them good 6, or, you know, open the space, or, because I tease them. What happens when you tell a teenager not to do something? They will do it. So you have to come up with those positives, and they've got to be objective. But thank you. Yes, those are my books. World Cup, almost made the final on that one, and I made a national final. And so I was trying to figure out how to set myself up to do better. And I started noticing muscle fatigue and pain. That was not normal. That wasn't from overtraining. That wasn't from other stuff. And in essence, that was by 33, 34, I was figuring out that I had to retire from fencing, because, and my joke was, I just got good. So of course I had doctors who were like, oh, it's all in your head. I want to find a couple of those and show them my genetic tests. But my genetic tests that are now showing what kind of muscular dystrophy I have, they didn't exist. So technology is finally catching up to at least give me even a ballpark of what's going on. Like, I actually said to doctors, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it has a name. I just care that I have a treatment plan. And I was really stubborn, and I was trying to continue fencing. And I realized that I had to retire from fencing. And so for me, if I want to stay involved and I want to stay with the cool people, because fencers are awesome, I needed to keep doing the refereeing. And then when I decided that I probably needed a cane or a walking stick, I modified a hiking stick, the trekking sticks that you see, and I got like a retracting device. That's how I did it, so I could still do on-guard ready fence and have both hands free, because I don't need the cane 112% of the time, but I do need it sometimes for stability. I basically had to reinvent a lot of myself. I use it for coaching. I have it by my side. When I give saber lessons, I have to lower it so that I don't get my knuckles hit. And what I do is actually I clip my cane retracting device to the belt loops on my ref pants. You get creative when you want to be stubborn and keep doing something. My high school wrote an article about me. I basically said at the end of the article, until I can't walk anymore, I will continue to coach. And probably after, I probably still will find a way to continue to coach. Just, yeah. And I find so much intrinsic value in fencing. And I've seen that for athletes. Meek little freshmen come in, and then they leave as like these badass, amazing, in particular women that are ready to conquer the world. But recently, I've had a couple people start refereeing, and I always knew fencing was transformative. I know fencing is just something that can help your brain understand how to be fierce or how to be calm. But I'd never seen refereeing be transformative. And I've had 2 friends, one of whom I'm very close with, and it's expanded his confidence in his sport. It's expanded his confidence in his coaching. It's expanded his confidence in other aspects of his life. And so I just thought it was so cool that after 35, 37 years of fencing, that I'm still learning new ways for the sport to be transformative.